Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and before we get started, let's get the shout out of the way. Today's shout out goes to Calamity Joe. Calamity Joe was first to say first in one of my recent videos, and thus wins a shout out. So, congratulations. Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and what I got for you today is a review of a neat new airplane. This is the FX-818, two-channel stabilized airplane. If you notice, it's in the shape of an F-16. Pretty cool looking. Very easy. It's ready to fly. It comes ready to fly with the exception of this tail. This tail comes in and they give you some glue to glue down the tail. I'd like to keep it so I can disassemble it. All I did was just wedge it in there and taped down the tail to hold it in place. That should work just as well as the glue. But I will still be able to rebox it if I need to. What's special about it again is it is stabilized. It has gyro stabilization system inside here and its flight controller. That means that this airplane is programmed so that it can't roll over. Okay, if you give it hard left or hard right, it just won't be able to roll over. Additionally, it shouldn't stall. Okay, so this stabilization system should prevent stalling and also minimize phugoid oscillations, although there may be some. We'll see here shortly. What's neat about it is the front end of it here has this crushy cone here, a rubber crushy cone here to absorb some of the impact of a nose-in crash in case you do nose it in. The controller for it is very basic. Turning it on-off switch here, throttle to go up and down, and controlling the roll or the yaw of the airplane through differential thrust. Okay, so when you give this left turn, this motor will spin faster than this motor to push it to the left, and when you give it right turn, this motor will spin faster than this motor to push it to the right. Again, it is powered by a 220 milliamp hour battery, a little 1S battery, very common. Let me pop it open to show it to you. Actually, I cut my fingernails this morning and having a hard time opening it, but there it is, just jammed in there, just a little white low-C. You could probably put bigger batteries all the way up to about X5C. It's a big battery bay in there. But you know, with 220 milliamp hour, that keeps the weight down very low. So put a 500 in there, that doubles the weight of that battery. So that'll affect flight performance. The higher milliamp hour battery you put in an airplane, and an on-off switch right there. So let's take it for a flight, see how it performs, and hope you enjoy this flight. So let's do that. Okay, this is my runway for most of my toy airplanes here. This is my takeoff runway. Let's turn on the airplane. And we got a red blinking light there, and put it on the ground and let its gyros stabilize for a bit before we bind it to the controller. Then I turn on the controller. We got a red light, and up, down to bind it, and now we have throttle. Okay, let's take to the air by giving it full throttle. And there we go. How's those gyro stabilization working? It's got quite a bit of phugoids there. I reduced the throttle and that seemed to stop it. So giving it full throttle, I really wanted to climb real hard. So I'm reducing the throttle even more. Bump turning it, since it's a two-channel flyer. Well, actually it flies very well. Okay, stabilization system is working. I'm not seeing any phugoids once I reduced that throttle a bit. Let's see if I can do some close flybys. Turning it to the left. Bump turns, remember? Let's see if we can do stable. Oh, no. Gentle left turn, and then just kicks in. So you're going to have to do bump turns with this one. And what are bump turns? It's turning it like so until it turns in the direction you want. Rapid bumps. That way it won't roll over. Even though it's stabilized, it will roll over. I just noticed that. Stabilization system seems to reduce the amount of phugoids you get out of it. Let's bring it in close now. And reducing throttle to bring it down lower, and see if we can bring it toward us. Now, this is more or less a beginner's airplane, a beginner's trainer, teaching you how to fly out and back and maintain orientation on the airplane. Having the gyros, that helps minimize focusing on other things other than turning the airplane, which makes it easier, again, for beginner pilots. They're mainly focusing on turning the airplane, again, and turning it with bump turns for this one. Now, these bump turns aren't really realistic for most other airplanes. It's just these two channels with differential thrust. This seems to work the best to turn them. At least I found that. Bring it down lower. Reducing throttle. It doesn't want to come down. It's because that little tiny battery in there is so lightweight. Okay, reduce the throttle some more. Come on. There's a way to bring it down. Give it a hard turn. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Just do some rotates around me. More throttle, more throttle. You got to keep it in the air. Figure 8 now, going to the right. More throttle. More throttle, coming to the right. And then turning to the left. So these FX flybearers, this has got to be a flybearer. Whenever you see FX in the name of it, it's usually a flybearer aircraft, 2-channel aircraft. And Flybear's been making these for a few years now, at least for the first one I flew was the 802, I believe, and that was an excellent airplane. And Flybear's been putting out pretty cool beginners airplanes, 2-channel airplanes. More throttle. But again, the thing about these 2 channels is the way you have to turn them, bump turns. Because here, let me do a steady turn and watch what happens. It noses over, even with the gyros. So reducing throttle, but the gyros are doing a heck of a good job of reducing those fuel goat oscillations. Except there in the beginning here, when I give it full throttle. Let's see what happens when I give it full throttle again. See how it climbs and noses up? And then I reduce the throttle and let's put it in glide. Let's see if it glides. Oh yeah, it's gliding nicely. Whoa! You gotta keep the throttle on the thing, otherwise it gets confused. Okay, I cut off the throttle there and it started the dive and fugoid. So again, these motors are the only thing that's keeping that thing stable, and if you cut off the motors, it can become unstable. The motors have to keep on running. Now, I could reduce some of that instability there if I would balance the center of gravity on this, but you know, I'm not going to do that because it's flying well as long as you keep the motors running. I'm not going to fiddle around with putty. There, I cut back the throttle too much again. Okay, let's bring it by close in. Close in, close in. Let's do a flyby. Another flyby the other direction. Now that 220 is flying this for a good long time. Actually doing a real good job of flying for a long time. But again, if you put a larger battery in there, you could probably get away with up to 500 to get more flight time out of it. But again, the higher the battery power you go, the heavier it's going to become and the less aerodynamic it will be. Okay, I'm not going to fly this all day because I got several other airplanes to fly today. I've got a bunch of airplanes in recently. A lot of them. Got to catch up on them. So we're going to call it quits here shortly. Just bring it in. Bring the flybearer in for its landing. I want to do a smooth landing if I can. Reduce the fugoids. And let it land. There's a wind coming from that direction right there. There we go. Landing. So, neat little airplane. Very simple to fly. Got a throttle and steering. Again, for beginners to learn how to steer mainly. And then once you learn to steer, then you can progress to, say, a 3-channel. And my nose came off. There's my nose wheel. My nose wheel pinched off there. Put it back in there again. So there we go. So that's the Flybear FX-823. Simple 2-channel aircraft for beginner pilots. So hope you enjoy this flight. This is Quadcopter 101. Signing out.